working on mastering my album, and that's where I'm at right now. It's like eventually I'm gonna drop a project. It's gonna be just like I did with Eyerie Kush. I didn't tell anyone. I just on 420 of 2016, I think it was. I just dropped a video and dropped an album and threw a big old party. That was pretty much how I did it. And Eyerie Kushmas, which I did in December, was kind of like that, where I had the songs playing, so people were kind of there for a listening party, album listening experience. And I called it a CBD listening experience because we started off the whole thing with the CBD sound bath, you know. And so like I like to include people in the art that I do, you know, and that to me is like the most important thing. Is like I want you to experience my music. I don't want you to just listen to it, you know. So experience what I go through as an artist, and experience the feelings that I get when I hear my own music, you know. So I want to share that with people.
Yeah, you said a CBD shower bath or something like that?
It was a CBD sound bath, yeah.
Sound bath. Okay, so like what is that exactly?
You go so you ever been to a sound bath?
No, I mean is that like I think I might have heard Joe Rogan and Kid Cudi talk about it in an interview one time.
Yeah, it's like so it's like the crystal bowls. They're like big crystal bowls, and you also have like small Buddha bowls. They're called Buddha bowls. They're just basically like copper or brass or something. I think they're brass. And they, you know, the crystal ones, they create different frequencies, different sizes to create different frequencies, and they're healing frequencies because technically we're all energy and we're all a frequency. So these healing sounds, you know, soothe you, and they can do something from like put you to sleep to like heal ailments, you know. And then of course the CBD to me is a big thing because I'm a big advocate of marijuana, medical marijuana, and all the medicine that it brings to us. So CBD was included in our tea prior to going into the sound bath. So you come in, you get a cup of tea, you drink it, it has CBD in it, and, you know, and then you experience this sound bath. That's a complete like healing experience because I believe music is medicine.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, I'm the same way with people. You know, like usually like when people like kind of talk about like, you know, I guess like not the ignorant ones, but the ones that just simply don't agree with the whole like marijuana healing components. You know, it's just like. Yeah, it just matters about what your tolerance is. You gotta learn about yourself before doing so anyway. You know what I'm saying? And you know, like that's why like when they say, oh, like you know, like marijuana only like leads to like laziness or like, you know, like other drugs, it's like, well, I mean that's depends on the person though. You can't blame it on that. You know what I mean? And,
yeah.
Like for myself,
I always tell people like, well, what do you take for pain? You know?
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, I take Tylenol, aspirin, and this and that. I was like, well, that comes from a plant too, like. The medicinal aspects of most of the medicine that is used has to have some type of plant derivative or synthetic copy of a plant derivative. So it's like you guys, you know, can pick and choose. I choose the most rawest form of my medicine, and it happens to be cannabis. So like at that point, you can choose and you can pick and choose, you know, whatever you want. Some people like tea, some people like tobacco, to pray, whatever they decide, you know, to do with the medicines that are offered. Like the herbs are there for a reason, and some of them definitely are healing, and some of them kill us. Some of them can help, and some of them can hurt. So it's about finding what helps you. You know, like what nature does is balance, and if you have anything that we can find in nature is a balance. For every positive, there's a negative, and vice versa.
Oh, absolutely. Like as for myself, like I wish I could be productive while smoking weed. But I'm just completely sometimes. So that's why I usually just smoke when I knock out. And then, you know.
And some people don't knock out with it. Like, I like sativas and I like to stay up and do creative shit with it, you know?
Yeah.
And then, of course, I know myself well enough to know, okay, this is going to put me to sleep. So I feel like if we were more accountable and responsible, we wouldn't have to have these restrictions for the sake of, like, not having addictions and not having, you know, problems with like reoccurring things. But it's mostly to do with like our own mental health and well-being and like access that we have. You know, some people don't have access to that, and they refer to drugs, aka drugs that are harmful, you know, and that do cause problems. For me personally, like if I ever found that something caused a problem, I would find a better solution to whatever needs help, you know, in my body. You know, like I stopped eating meat a long time ago because I didn't feel good eating it. I don't go around preaching it to people, but to my personal well-being, I never liked the feeling I got after having a heavy meal of red meat. You know, that's just how I was.
Yeah.
And like now here we are, like where people are really questioning the necessity of it, you know, in their bodies, and where they really get the plant protein from is the plant. So it's like we're really discussing different things now, as opposed to like back then there wasn't a lot of access to alternative foods, you know. And now it's like you have vegan burgers. It's like it's a whole different world. So it's really like what helps and what makes your life, you know, more productive. And like you said, like if you're not productive with something, cut it out.
Simple as that. You know what I mean? Some people, you know, don't drink alcohol for, you know, just so they can try to stay focused. Some people do it to loosen up. Who knows?
Right.
Like when I first started doing this interviewing thing,
can function really well off of it, and some people cannot.
Exactly. And you know, it's all about learning about yourself, and you decide what works for you and what does not work for you. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. So I mean, would you mind, you know, if we go into psychedelics for a little bit or no?
Go for it.
You know, like I just want to kind of like get your, you know, input on it and like kind of like experiences, if you may. You know what I'm saying?
I actually microdose with mushrooms because I have had like moments where like I've had to deal with depression and different types of like, you know, mental health issues that have been from different traumas. You know, everybody has gone through something. So it's like accepting what the trauma is and then finding the best solution. And for me, I microdose on mushrooms. I love microdosing mushrooms. I actually make my own chocolates just because like I trust what I'm putting in my own chocolates, and I know that, you know, the source that I have. So it's like they're now discovering that these things are helpful, and they're trying to implement them in our you know, psychiatric system and psychologically, you know, discover different things for it. You know, like there's different uses for plants. Again, we're back to plants are being rediscovered because we didn't know them that well. You know, they had a relationship with our bodies, and we've had a relationship in our indigenous cultures, but we didn't understand what their purpose was now in the modern world. And I like when science meets up to indigenous traditions, and it's like, oh, we already knew this. Oh, but listen, we know that. Well, we have been telling y'all that there's medicinal things in these practices. Absolutely. That are our traditional ancient practices, you know. And more people are like, whoa, you're just rediscovering the things that are traditionally from our cultures, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
I like that. I like that part of it, I guess. I don't like the abuse. I don't like people like promoting like something that could be like a very healing, sacred thing. So even with cannabis, like when I was younger, I was very close about like who I would smoke with and why I would smoke with certain people. And I didn't really, even before this whole situation with COVID, I didn't really share joints. I would just roll you your own, you know, because that's my prayer. That's my sacred time. That's my, you know, and only in like certain circles where I'd be like, okay, we're sharing this one. This is for all of us, you know?
Yeah. Well, I mean,
that's
like, do you remember like the first time you ever smoked weed?
Absolutely.
Share it, please.
Yeah. Huh?
Share the experience with us.
I was pretty young. I'm not going to say how old I was, but actually my father was, he loved to smoke because he worked very hard, and that was the only thing that really relaxed him. So I remember coming home from school and thinking, oh, my dad has cigarettes because I see my friends smoking cigarettes. You know, mind you, my dad had a roller, so his joints looked like a cigarette. They looked perfect.
Yeah.
So I would be like, oh, my dad has those at home. I'm going to try one, you know? And I remember waiting for the weekend because my parents were going to go somewhere and they were going to take my siblings, and I had to work, so I couldn't go. I was pretty young. I still was already working, but I remember taking the cigarette and going to the bathroom and like watching myself in the mirror smoke it. And like that experience to this day, like nothing compares to like it becomes like your subconscious mind is all of a sudden in front of your face. And you're like, whoa, what is this? It's like your first high of ever, you know, ever, like, you know?
Yeah.
A baby discovering their hand type of experience, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's so cool. And I remember like, I put it out because I was paranoid. I smoked it and I got paranoid like within like 10 minutes of it. I was like, oh, damn. I remember thinking my dad's going to know I smoked this. So I put it out really quick. I sprayed some fucking air freshener or whatever. And then I was like, oh, I'm going to put it back. So I put it back. And then I sat down and I started watching cartoons or something. And then like 5 minutes passed by and I got paranoid again. And I was like, no, he's gonna know I smoked it because it's half smoked, so I have to smoke the whole thing. So I went and I picked it up.
Oh shit.
And I smoked the whole thing. And
Yeah.
It was the best day of my life. For the first time ever, I was like, oh my god, this is a different experience. I didn't know. In my mind, it was still a cigarette.
Yeah, absolutely.